There we go. Hey, everyone. How's it going? I'm going to give it a couple minutes here, as I know this was a last-minute type thing. So just wanted to jump on here. We hit 12,000 subscribers today, so just wanted to come in and thank everyone and sort of have just a nice hangout and really try to have some fun on a Saturday night. I think that Michigan is losing as an Ohio State grad. I think that's always a good thing. As their program fell off, but not a lot of good games going on tonight. So let's see who we have in here. Univ Poke, I hope I said that right. David Meyer, hey Justin, Phil Brigant. I apologize if I'm butchering these names. I'm sure I am. Brian, Jason, Kevin, A Joint. Hey everyone, thanks for joining on short notice. So I don't know how long we're gonna go. I think that it's sort of up to everyone here as far as if we have questions about DFS stuff, we can certainly talk about that. If we have just general football guys stuff, we can talk about that. But it's been a long day. So no, Cecil's just going to take away my rights to come on here and talk. But yeah, so I think that probably just go game by game, talk about some interesting players. Any Coach Fangio impressions? No, I don't have those. Talk about some players that are interesting, some players that are in some tough spots, and then I'll answer any questions that you guys have. It's been a long day over at Football Guys. The Taysom Hill lineup optimizer issue we've been dealing with all morning and really over the last 48 hours, so I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. Taysom Hill is chalk this week on FanDuel. Yeah, so for those that don't know, on FanDuel he's a tight end, and on DraftKings and Yahoo he's a quarterback, as he should be. But it was a bit of a challenge, as we never anticipated having a player be on both. So our systems all sourced from the same area, and it was a bit of a tech nightmare, but we got it figured out. So apologies to anyone who uses our lineup tools or lineup builder, etc. And apologies for this place being an absolute mess. I'm moving in a week. So but let's jump into any questions. Lamar Jackson 31. I'm not sure what you mean, Brandon. But if you want to clarify, I can certainly help answer that question. So let's go ahead and jump into some games. Talking. I'm just going to ramble through here, but feel free to just jump in with any questions that you guys might have along the way. And let's see. Do I think ESPN will shift Taysom to quarterback next week? I believe that answer is yes. I think Mike Clay said that they would after he started one game. Let's see. Washington stat good. It's a bit of a risk. I think that if they fall behind, you could see a lot of points there. But Alex Smith is coming off his best game as a pro. Let's see. Projected points that I have for Lamar Jackson. Let me look at what I have, and then I can certainly say what David Dodds has. Give me one moment. Lamar. So David has him at 24.4. I have him slightly higher than that at about 26. Read your article. You're totally off Kamara and Cook and Cash. It's not that I'm off of them. I think that Kamara is in a great spot, but if you read my write-up a little bit, I'm concerned with just how that offense is going to play in general. So Cook, I'm totally off on FanDuel because of Taysom Hill. I talked about it a little bit earlier. I don't see the value in playing two tight ends. And with Hill being a tight end there, I think that it's one of those things that you don't really need to play both. Kamara, he's just expensive. There's a lot of concern about red zone work and whether Taysom's going to take that. And are 3 touchdowns really sustainable? Probably not. And he only had 8 carries last week. Is he going to get the same volume in the reception game? Maybe, maybe not. I think that there's a philosophy that Taysom Hill might not check down the ball. He will look at his first or second option and then run. So I think that that's a potential issue. So I think there's a little bit more risk in Kamara, especially at the $9,700 price tag. I think he's a little too expensive. Yeah, I'll address the Dodds thing for those that are there. I think we're all going to miss him. But we're all excited for what's next for David. So for those that don't know, David is electing to retire after this year and is focusing on other things. So he's taking a break. He's been doing it for 25 or 30 years, and he's one of the best in the industry. So he'll always be a friend of football guys. There's no bad blood there. We're excited to see what he does next and where his passions may lie. Walgreens or CVS? Considering I've worked for Walgreens corporate the last 7 years or so, I would go Walgreens. It's a random question. Smash those likes, yeah. Okay, so let's just jump into it. Like I said, I don't know. This stream is entirely up to you. I've opened it up that if someone wants to come on here and actually talk about it, come on live, they're certainly welcome to as well. Just send me a note or post it in here, and I can certainly post the link and you can come on here. What's going to happen with Dodds' algorithm? So he's actually training some people to follow the same methodology that he's been doing it for a long time. So I would expect we will probably call it, I don't know if we'll call it Dodds' projections or call it Football Guys projections, or there's training and knowledge transfer going on every week. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I think that you're going to have the same, some form or another, the same format that Dodds has had. If you guys want it to be, I certainly am open to doing this every Saturday night and trying to grow this, but it's just something that we're trying out here. I wouldn't be nervous in season long about Kamara. I mean, he may be hurt a little bit, but it's mostly a DFS thing about me having a little bit concern and talking negatively. I still think he's the second best running back on this slate and probably in the NFL, to be honest. But he is just expensive on FanDuel and DraftKings this week. So if you're talking just strictly DFS, he's not that great of a cash game play. If you have him in Dynasty, you're in great shape for a long time. What Pittsburgh wide receiver in cash? Deontay Johnson for me. I love the player. Yeah, Dodds' secret sauce isn't going anywhere. Peterson GPP. I think that Adrian Peterson. He's minimum priced on DraftKings and 5,100 on FanDuel. I think he's one of the best cheap plays on this slate. Okay, sell you on James Conner. I'm not a salesman, but I can certainly try. James Conner. So if we go and we look up Jacksonville. Jacksonville is allowing the fifth most points to running backs. They're allowing 27.6 fantasy points, DraftKings points per game to opposing running backs. And James Conner isn't the greatest player, but it's relatively a limited it's a limited slate. There's not a lot of great options. He's faced some defenses and some game scripts that haven't been in his favor over the last couple of weeks. The Dallas game, they went 4 or 5 wide receivers the entire game. The Cincinnati game was disappointing. They were up 36-10, and he didn't do much. So I think he's a little risky. I do think he's a good GPP play because he's shown that he can have his 300-yard games with a touchdown. So could we see it? It's in the realm of possibility. And as John Lee talks about on the Power Grid, if he has a 30% chance of doing that and he's only rostered at 10%, that means he's pretty intriguing this week. Any new viable value this week? I'm not playing Dez. Geo is intriguing on DraftKings. Marvin Jones, it's tough because is Marvin Jones the guy who's going to get open when he has just him, right? So facing double coverage. I sort of like him with a secondary complement of Danny Amendola or somebody like that in that. Somebody like that. It's all good, Eric. Panthers stacking. If you're going to stack him with Robbie Anderson because they were college teammates. And I think that if he's looking for a security blanket, he could certainly go back to his old college routes. John, what's up, buddy? Carry-on will get carries. I think he'll get 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. I think Adrian Peterson's probably in line for the most there. Why does Football Guys staff not participate? We did for a long time, and there's some philosophical differences, I think, that I'll say as far as whether or not we should give away our rankings for free. Bob Henry was always top 5 in those for a long time, and we elected that it was a better business move to bring those in house. Yeah, I like both Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson this week. Let's see. Anything else? Favorite play from Kansas City. I haven't dug too deep into Kansas City. Let me check my projections really quickly. Going up against the Raiders, it's probably Tyreek. Let me see how they've done against speed riders. I have Tyreek Hill listed as the most, and they've struggled against slot guys. So I know he doesn't always line up in the slot, but he burned them. He burned them for 78 yards on just 3 catches last time these two teams met. And let's see how many plays he lines up in the slot. I feel like he used to do it more, but Tyreek Hill. He's still 58% in the slot. So if I look at the Raiders, Keenan Allen had 103 yards and a touchdown on nine receptions. Jarvis Landry had 52 yards, which that's pretty good for Jarvis. Scotty Miller, 109 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek, 78 yards. Stephon Diggs, who plays about, what's Diggs these days in Buffalo? I don't have it in front of me, but he'll slide down there a little bit. So I think that if they have an issue, it'll be LaMarcus Joyner is 5'8", 184 pounds, converted safety. I think that Tyreek Hill could burn them this week. Let's see. Hey, Jim. Pittman stuff. Pittman's not a guy that I have. I know a lot of people are high on him coming off the big game against the Titans. I think I like the player. I just don't know that this week is Michael Pittman week. It certainly could be, but I don't know that I'm fully there yet. Going up against Green Bay, that's a tough matchup for me. So they have one of the better defenses in the league against opposing wide receivers. So not saying he couldn't have a big game, but he is likely going to draw. He's likely going to draw Kevin King, who's 6'3", 192 pounds, and Pittman's 6'4", 220. So he'll have a little bit of weight, but Kevin King's one of the bigger receivers, one of the bigger corners, I should say, in the league. Let's see. Would you trade Kelsey for 2.01 and Andrews? I'm not a dynasty guy. I'll fully admit that. I don't know. I would send a note to Dan Hendry on Twitter. He'll certainly give you his best advice. Hey, Brian, thanks for coming in. Yeah, we might do this weekly, especially, I mean, there's 53 people in here, and I scheduled this on 20 minutes. So all of you guys are awesome. I can't say that enough. Maybe we'll make this a weekly thing a little bit earlier, so you don't have to dip out as early next time. Damian Harris, good player. He's showed promise, GPP viable on FanDuel. The only concern I have with Damian Harris is the lack of red zone work. So I don't think he scored a touchdown this year. Maybe he has one, but if he gets that red zone work, he's really viable. He could easily get to 100 yards. He could easily get to 100 yards this week. So I do like him. He's in a favorable matchup against Houston. We've all seen that Houston has just been shredded against opposing defenses. Sony Michel. How good is Sony Michel? I mean, that's the question you have to ask yourself. I don't think he's that great. So I think Harris could still be the top guy there. Rodgers seems under-owned. What do I have him at? So I put together our roster projections for football guys. Let me see where I have the Aaron Rodgers. So on DraftKings, I have Rodgers at 3%. So I think it's a combination of people are going to want to go up to Dalvin Cook. Rodgers is always a great play, especially at that price. I think that he's definitely in play this week against Indy. It's a tough matchup, and that's probably why he's being brought down. But 3%, give me some Aaron Rodgers. And he may come up to 5 or 6 in my update tomorrow. I'll have to double check, but I think he'll come up a little bit. But still, even at 5%, he's a good play. What do I think about Mike Davis with Bridgewater out? I don't know. Mike Davis, I mean, we all loved him last week. I think that he's starting to hit a wall a little bit. So that I have a little bit of concern with Davis. He's not on my radar this week. He was struggling a little bit even before Bridgewater was out, and how they're going to do with this PJ Walker, who XFL stardom, not sure. Let's see. Raiders wide receivers. Can we trust any? No. No. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments. Do I think Hill will play enough, or will Jameis jump in? So here's what I'm doing. I will have 100% Taysom Hill, not Tyreek, on FanDuel at the tight end position. Even if he sees, 25% of the snaps at quarterback, he's a good play. On DraftKings, I'm having 0% of Taysom Hill. I think he's going to be over rostered because of the perception that he's going to play 100% of the snaps. I don't know that I buy it 100%. RJ Bell has come out on Colin Cowherd's show, and he's into the gambling world and has said that he would bet that Winston has more pass attempts than Hill. I don't know one way or the other, to be honest, but I'm not taking that risk at a quarterback position, because if he doesn't run like we all think he does, he's a limited thrower. So at that price on DraftKings, you can go and get a PJ Walker, or go and get an Alex Smith or someone like that pretty cheap. Only like Harris as their running back if he plays. Jacoby Myers is in an absolute great position this week. He's going to be one of the more popular guys, as he should be. He's too cheap because of that. Typically what happens is the sites have their prices locked in before the Sunday night game, and definitely before the Monday night game. So anyone who makes that big of a difference. But Jacoby Myers has 23 receptions in his last 3 games. So he's almost a must play for me this week. Is having Adams in your FanDuel post lineup due in part to a Indy cornerback injury? No. Devontae Adams is always in play. He's matchup proof. And do I love him? No, not really. I mean, it's a tough matchup, but I think he is always in a great spot. Check my Sunday lineup each morning, but I mean, he's the number 1 receiver every single week. Kalen Ballage, I think. I don't know who Jalen Ballage is, but I'll assume you mean Kalen. I love Kalen Ballage this week. He's in my cash game lineup right now. I think that he is in a tremendous spot going up against, for those that don't know, Adam Gase drafted him when he was in Miami. Adam Gase signed him with the Jets earlier this year. Adam Gase cut him, and he signed with the Chargers. He will score a touchdown this week. I will almost guarantee it. Taysom is a decoy, and they play Jameis. Who knows? I don't think that. I'm sort of a watch what they say, watch what they do, not what they say. And they gave Taysom Hill a lot of money this offseason, and I think that they did it for a reason. So I don't think they gave it to him to be this decoy or just a halfback, wide receiver, tight end dual threat. I think they view him as a potential replacement for Drew Brees. So I think that they're going to test him out this week. Every Sunday, some unused third stringer gets a long TD. Who is your pick? Jim, if I knew that, I would be on a beach somewhere sipping Mai Tais. I would not be trying to get to that point. Yeah, so let's see. Third stringer, under the radar guy. Let me go down through my list really quickly. This is going pretty deep, but let's see. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but give me Quintez Cephas for the Lions. Danny Amendola is out, and Kenny Galladay is out. Thank you, Patrick. All of you who are joining are. I'm shocked that there's 51 people here, to be honest. What are we doing with Michael Thomas? Playing him. Well, season long, definitely playing him. DFS is, if you're in a big GPP, and let's see what I have him projected to be rostered at 14% on DraftKings. It's a little high. And on FanDuel, I have him at 16%. So if you're a multi-entry player, I would have one or two lineups with him. If you're a single bullet guy, I probably would stay away. There's just too much risk there, especially with not knowing what Taysom Hill is doing. You need one. Nyheim Hines, Jamison Crowder, or DJ Chark. Whew. Does it say PPR? Standard scoring. Okay. Nyheim Hines, Jamison Crowder, DJ Chark. Let me look at my projections just really quickly. So I have Chark at 12, Crowder at 10, and Hines, no PPR is going to hurt him quite a bit. I would go DJ Chark and hope for the best. To be honest, he has the highest upside for me. If you need safety, maybe you go Hines, but I think you go for it all and go with Chark. No, you're fine. You can ask whatever questions you want. It's not just DFS. So I will answer any questions. Anyone who has any questions, I will certainly answer them. If you could just clarify, as you did, season-long league. That way I know, and I'm not talking just DFS. Yeah, 3% for Rodgers is a pretty good matchup. Peterson. Mike Davis or Jamison Crowder in PPR flex. Probably Mike Davis. Let's just make sure of that, though. Yeah, it's Mike Davis. I think that Davis, he's struggled, and I can understand why you want to move off of him. But if I look at the Chargers, they've actually been pretty good against slot guys. So I don't hate Crowder. I think that he's always interesting to have these random 8, 9, 10 catch games, but if you need safety, I think Mike Davis should rebound somewhat nicely. Bengals or Falcons? Yeah, I mean, that's the choice. I kind of like the Lions cheap too, but Bengals if you can. I think that the Bengals, they're more expensive. What's the price difference? $2,300 on DraftKings. I'm primarily looking at FanDuel these days, having just written my article this morning. So on DraftKings, I would go the Bengals. On FanDuel, I would go the Falcons just because of price. Hey, I'll keep coming if you guys keep showing up. So I appreciate all of you guys that are here. Is Ben Roethlisberger in play tomorrow? Well, I mean, in play in what? I think that in cash games, I think so. He's not the guy that I have, and I'll tell you guys who I have. I have Lamar Jackson pretty much everywhere. But I think in a GPP setting, Roethlisberger is in a great spot. This team is just throwing the ball lights out. So I think as a GPP, or if you don't like Lamar Jackson and you want to come down a little bit to Roethlisberger, he's in my top 5 best plays this week. Favorite Dallas wide receiver this week? Let's see. They're all cheap, which is nice. So if I look at Amari Cooper, 5,400, CD Lamb, 5,000, and Michael Gallup at, I think you said 3,700, all cheap, all in a good matchup. I'm probably going Amari Cooper just because I believe in the player a little bit more than I would go Cooper, Gallup, Lamb. I'm not sure you need to go down to Gallup, but if you do, it's not the worst GPP play in the world. Cooper might be cash game viable. I mean, there's not a lot in that cheap range. So at 5,400, he's not necessarily cheap. But let's see what he did his last time out against Andy Dalton, or with Andy Dalton, I should say. He had in a full game. Like I said, if anyone wants to come on at any point, just let me know. Shoot me a DM on Twitter, Devin Knotts FBG, and it would be Amari Cooper for me. So he had 10 targets with Dalton in their last full game. CeeDee Lamb actually had 11 targets, but I think in Gallup had 6 as well. So I think that Cooper is the safest of the bunch. I'll put it that way. And I am so far behind, so I'm going to have to go through these a little bit. Thoughts on Salvon Ahmed is actually how you pronounce it. We learned that this week. Salvon Ahmed, 4,800. Decent GPP play, not a cash game for me. Duke or Damian Harris? It depends on the site. So Duke on DraftKings, Damian Harris on FanDuel. Let's see. Good luck with your MMA lineups. Lions do give up a lot of touchdowns to running backs. This is very true. Yeah, Gallup is cheap. I think he's just a little bit risky. So as a GPP play, he's definitely in play. Apologies if I'm not getting to all these questions. They're all great questions. Ask them twice if I skipped over one, and I will make sure to answer every single question. Favorite double stack? Good question. On DraftKings, I like the Lamar Jackson to Mark Andrews stack quite a bit. I talked about that. The player I love that I haven't mentioned this week is T. Higgins. So since week 4, he is 3rd in receiving yards in the NFL, and his price does not reflect that. So he's actually one of, if not my favorite receiver this week. And I think that he's a guy who definitely could have a big game. So Joe Burrow to T. Higgins is definitely on my list as well. And then if I'm going a third one, it'll be Justin Herbert. Although, have you guys seen his haircut? It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So I don't know if I trust him after that one, but him to Keenan Allen is always in play. Let's see. Going down. Like I said, I'll do it if you guys want it. Full point PPR, season pick 2. McKissick, Hines, Bernard. I would probably go McKissick and Bernard. I think that you will have – or no, I'm sorry. Ignore that. Hines and Bernard. Wait, let me double check that. Now I'm confusing myself. Bernard is definitely in that list. I would go McKissick and Bernard. Apologies. I had it right the first time. Start to – a lot of you guys have Gio over Bernard. It's crazy. Full PPR. Justin Jefferson should not be in this question. He's an absolute start. So we're talking 1. Gio Bernard, Kalen Ballage. Jonathan Taylor is not in this discussion. Jacoby Myers and Claypool. So for me, it's between Bernard and Ballage. And I would probably go Kalen Ballage. Yeah. I would go Jefferson and Ballage, but Gio is right in there. And if you wanted to play him over one of those two, I won't blame you. Season long, 1 quarterback. How do you rank Taysom versus Tannehill and Carr? Let's check. Tannehill, Carr, Hill. I would have it Carr, Taysom, Hill, and Tannehill. I don't love any of those, but I think that Carr is probably the safest. Why is nobody playing Mike Davis against a horrible defense? The problem with Mike Davis is really twofold. 1, the quarterback change is never great for a receiving running back. And then 2, the lack of touches compared to what he had earlier on in the year. So he only had 7 carries for 32 yards last week. It was against Tampa. Fine, let's discount that. But if you look at the 2 games before Christian McCaffrey was out, 13 carries against Atlanta, only 1 reception. And then in Atlanta struggles against receiving running backs. They're pretty good against running backs in general, shutting down the actual running part. But then New Orleans, 7 carries for 12 yards. He did have 5 receptions, but he hasn't scored a touchdown since October 18th. So even though the matchup is good, I just worry about how much they're actually going to run the ball this week. Not saying he doesn't have upside. I think he definitely does. He's just risky. Full PPR. Goddard, Hooper, Tunyon, Logan Thomas. No, you should start Goddard. Cleveland is in an interesting spot. So I talked about it on the Power Grid this week, but Cleveland's numbers are way inflated as far as a pass defense. They are not this good. The people quickly forget how bad of win situations they've had in the last 2 weeks. And I know that there's potential that there's weather coming again. And let me check the latest on that. But they've had 35-mile-an-hour winds each of the last 2 games that have dramatically impacted those games. So I'm not worried about the Browns being a shutdown pass defense. They're pretty good run defense, but I'm not scared of that pass defense at all. And that's coming from a Browns fan. So I would definitely start Dallas Goedert. Let me check Cleveland weather. 44 and 12-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, that's fine. There's going to be some precipitation, but I'm not worried about a little bit of rain. Is Grant in a good spot? I think he's okay. If you have to go, Jakeem Grant, I think is who you're referencing. So at 3,500 on DraftKings, he's my favorite sub 4,000 price player. He's definitely a punt if you want to go down to that range, I think he's definitely in play. I think he'll be somewhat popular, but I think he's in a good spot this week. How do I feel about Nick Chubb? Love the player, don't love the matchup. But he always had. I mean, he's sort of matchup proof. So in a GPP setting, if you want to go with him, I think he's in a good spot. He has upside, but he is risky. So I think that I'm not doing it in a cash game, but in a GPP setting, I think he's going to come in. I don't think he's going to be that popular. Right? We have him at 4% right now. He has a chance to break a big run and really could take off. Sensing Falcons have a lot of offensive players, given Saints uncertainty on offense. No, I don't think so. I think there's two ways to look at that, and I think what you're asking is, are the Falcons going to run more plays than normal? I could see it going both ways. I could see the Saints just running the ball heavily, running read options with Kamara, Hill, Murray, and really trying to just slow the game down too. So I could see it really going both ways. There's a game script that you could convince yourself of that, but I don't know that I fully buy into that. Deontay Johnson for me. I get Juju starting to get more love, but Johnson for me. Why is Mark Andrews' ownership so high? His ownership is so high because there's no Travis Kelce, no Darren Waller, and no other. George Kittle's out. Zach Ertz isn't what he used to be, and he's hurt. So familiar name. He's way too cheap. He's $4,900, which was a massive misprice, and I believe he's starting to look a little bit better. So let me pull that up really quickly. Yeah, so he's coming off a good game. So seven receptions for 61 yards, starting to show life. Lamar Jackson has completed 72% and 84% in his last two games. So I think that there's hope that he's going to start turning it around. If I'm starting a tight end this week on DraftKings, it's Hayden Hurst against New Orleans. I do like Andrews if you want to stack him with Lamar Jackson, but it's Hayden Hurst for me. Yeah, good luck, Phil. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping in. Standard, need one. Godwin, Brown, Crowder, Samuel. Let's see. Godwin, Brown. Who else did you say? Crowder and Samuel. It's probably Godwin for me. I think he's the best player of that group by quite a bit. FanDuel Cash, Sanders or Gibson? The price is so different on those guys, so it's hard to compare them. Assuming you mean Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is 7,700. Who else did you say? Antonio Gibson is 6,500. Give me Antonio Gibson at the cheaper price. I think that the Browns' run defense has been pretty good. They're allowing, it's a lot harder than it looks trying to do all this on the fly, by the way. They're only allowing 3.9 yards a carry and only 78 yards per game. So, and they've been in some run-heavy game scripts. So, give me Gibson for me. And you get $1,200 that you can use elsewhere. Oh, the birthday narrative. You gotta love it. I didn't know that. It doesn't change my projections. You mentioned you love Lamar. Are you playing him naked? I don't want to think about a naked Lamar. If not, who are you pairing him with? I think you could pair him with Andrews. You don't have to. Like I said, I'm playing Hayden Hurst in cash with Lamar Jackson. So I'm not worried about it, especially in cash games. If I'm in a GPP format, maybe I'm taking him with Andrews, but you could take a solo Andrews too and hope that Jackson throws for touchdowns instead of runs for them. So I could see both scenarios working out. If there was one player I was going to pair him with, it would probably be Andrews, although Marquise Brown, I can never get Marquise Brown right. So if I'm saying don't play him, maybe you do want to play him. I don't know. Marquise Brown just hasn't shown much since most of the year. He only has 6 catches in the last 3 games, so not for me. Jakeem Grant is in a good spot. Does Henry stay under 10%? Let me check my updated numbers that I haven't updated to the site yet. I tend to think yes because of how highly rostered Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara will be, but let's see. And the matchup is tough, so I think a lot of people are going to be off of him. I have him at 8% right now. So yes, at the moment, I think he stays under 10. And he's a good contrarian play, especially, John, I know you play quite a bit of lineups, so I think he's a good play. Full point PPR, Woods, Chark, Mike Williams. So I think it's between the first 2. Full PPR, let's take a look. Chark, who was it? Chark, Woods. I love Robert Woods. He's like one of my favorite players for some reason. Maybe it was because of what he did last year for me. But I would say this. I think if you're in a close matchup and you need safety, I would go Woods. If you need that huge game, I would go DJ Chark. DJ Chark. No, sorry, wrong show. For those that watch the Power Grid, they got that joke. For those that didn't, I'm sorry. Why Hurst over Hawkinson with expected increased target distribution on DraftKings? It's a good question. Mostly because I got burned by Hawkinson last week. It's close. I just think that Hurst is a little bit safer than Hawkinson. Hawkinson would be my number 2 guy for what it's worth. Under the radar play this week. So let me pull up my roster percentages and find someone who's under 5%. Can we agree that that's under the radar? T. Higgins. I can't get enough of T. Higgins, and right now I have him for 4 or 5%, something like that. So I think he's in just an absolute tremendous spot this week. And really, I'm probably a couple weeks late. I should have been on it earlier, but currently he might get a little more popular. I've been pounding the drum, so let's give you one more guy going down the list. Kind of running back. Let's go Damian Harris. He's been talked about a couple times on this show, but Damian Harris is in a good spot this week. I think Mike Williams at 3%, 4%, somewhere in that range is in a good spot as well. Schuster or Higgins? Higgins. Sorry, I blanked out there for a minute. I was like, Rashard Higgins? No, I'm talking T. Higgins. T. Higgins, definitely. There's a lot of mouth to feeds. I completely agree. But I think that Marshawn Lattimore will take one of those away, and he'll probably take away. I could actually see him taking away Calvin Ridley. Let me see where they line up, but I can see a scenario. Let's see. Let's look into this just really quickly because I'm curious. Probably going to be Julio. So I could see them taking away Julio, which opens up a lot of targets for either Ridley or Hurst. I mean, you look at Hurst, and he's a guy that they invested heavily in, and he's starting to pay off. He has 18 receptions in his last 3 games. He seems a little safer than some of the other guys, although other guys may have more upside. I would definitely agree with that. Any Zeke love this week? Not for me. I know that he has upside. I just don't see it. The biggest concern with Zeke is the offensive line issues. It's no longer the offensive line that it used to be. So Not for me. Would you play Ahmed? Maybe. I don't know that you need to. If I look at my list of running backs, let's go down the list really quickly. So, guys I have ahead of Ahmed in that price range. So I'm going to be reasonable and not say Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Aaron Jones, etc. But Kalen Ballage, Duke Johnson, Gio Bernard, and this is in no order. Adrian Peterson at 4,000 I have over Ahmed. J.D. McKissick I have over him. Nyheim Hines barely in a PPR setting. And then he's right in line with Damian Harris. So if you want to take a shot on him, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I just have I have 5 or 6 guys in that 5K range or 4K and talking Peterson that I like better. Love Peterson on FanDuel. He's okay on DraftKings at 4K, but on FanDuel with the PPR not mattering as much, love him there. The Browns are so bad. They're 6-3. Defensively, their numbers actually grade out pretty well, but I don't think they're as good of a defense as their numbers grade out. Yeah, thanks, Tony. I appreciate you. Let's see. I'm so far behind on questions, and I apologize to all of you. Let's see. Who's a better play on DraftKings? DJ Shark or Brandon Cooks? Brandon Cooks. Who's the best play at 5,600 on FanDuel? Ahmed, Curtis Samuel, or J.D. McKissick. I would probably go down to Adrian Peterson, but if you're just giving me these 3, I would take – let me just double-check this with my projections. I would probably go oh, that's the wrong site. Ahmed, Samuel, and who was the third one? McKissick. I would go Ahmed there. Would you not play Ballage and Keenan Allen in the same cash game lineup? No, I would. I don't look at that type of stuff for cash game lineups. I've played Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry quite a bit. I've played Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen quite a bit. I think that it's fine to play both, especially against the Jets. The Jets are awful. Would I take the under? I'm an under better till I die. Struggling with AP and cash gets you to Adams, but pay down. Go with Gibson, get you Allen and Higgins / Schuster. Yeah, I think my 2 cash game builds are very similar to that, and I'm struggling with that too. I actually release a free cash game lineup every Sunday update to my article, and check it out if you don't. But I'm struggling with that decision right now too. Half-point PPR and 0.25 per carry and need to start 1. Zeke Elliott. Cam Newton or Burrow? That's a good question. That's a really good question. It depends on the site. I will clarify that. So Newton on DraftKings 6,200, Joe Burrow 5,500. Joe Burrow is in a really good spot this week, and I would probably take Joe Burrow over Cam Newton. If you're talking FanDuel, I believe they're closer in price. Yeah, they're 77 versus 76. I would probably go Cam Newton on that one. Cam just has more upside. I discount the game last week because A, they were winning quite a bit, and B, there was horrendous downpour and rain. How do I project ownership projections? So that's a really good question. So it's complicated, and it's not a perfect science by any stretch of the imagination. But what I do is I sort of look at where both Football Guys and other sites across the industry have certain players projected for points. Meaning, if, I don't know, player X is 20 points and he's at 6,000, we have history that says he's going to be about X percent rostered, and there's quite a bit of math that goes into that to try and determine optimal lineups and how roster lineups are going to be built. And then a lot of it is listening to other people's podcasts. So there's certain podcasts that move the needle a little bit, but the biggest thing that drives ownership projections are largely the mass multi-entry people. So the people that are putting in 150 lineups, so the people that are putting in 50, 100, 125, 150 lineups, and how they're actually building their lineups. So trying to get some sort of projection as far as where does everyone's consensus projections across the industry come in, and then adjusting accordingly. And it's more complicated than that, but that's the easiest way I can describe it. Yeah, I know Lattimore's not 100%. I get it. And if you want to go Hawkinson, look, he's my number 2 guy this week. So I like him quite a bit, and I would say go with your gut, and I'm not going to talk you off of it. So Lattimore probably won't be 100%, but can he stop Julio Jones? Maybe, maybe not. But I think that there's a lot of goodness in Atlanta, a lot of passing to be had, because Todd Gurley is not going to have a good game at all. I think that he's in for a rough one. How many? Hold on. Looks like my mouse died. There we go. It's Juju's birthday too? I thought it was Gio's birthday. How many people's birthday is it? You guys love the birthday narratives. James Robinson against Pittsburgh. Tough matchup. Don't love it, but if you want to take a shot on him in a GPP, I think he's definitely in play. Lattimore has an abdomen issue. I haven't heard that he's not going to play. I think he'll be fine. Hey, thanks, Davio. Sorry, I butchered it. Yeah, we just hit 12,000 subscribers. That's all on you guys, and I can't say that enough. Is thank you all, and maybe we'll do this. I mean, this has been 54 minutes, and we're still getting tons of questions. So thank you all. We will definitely do this next week. I don't love Harris. I think that Harris is the most talented running back in that backfield. I think he's done enough to earn that job. I think it could hurt Rex Burkhead a little bit. But I think Damian Harris still gets 13 to 15 carries, something like that. What do you think of Michael Thomas with Taysom Hill at quarterback? It remains to be seen. I think that there's two scenarios. One is it hurts him a lot, and then the other is that Taysom Hill locks into Michael Thomas and forces them the ball. Giving you one perspective or the other would be non-scientific. It would be entirely based on a gut feel. So I think it hurts him a little bit in that his floor and his safety is no longer there. So from that aspect, it definitely hurts. But does that mean he's not going to have a good game? I can't say that. I think that it hurts him from his floor goes down, but what was his upside with Drew Brees? It hadn't been great this year, so it can't. The upside may go up a little bit, and he has a higher variance. That's my non-committal way of answering that question. But yeah, to me, it's a wait and see approach. I'm not over investing in Thomas or under investing in him. I'm not really starting him all that much, but I can definitely see the case to be made there. When you did the blog, I did do a recap of the slate and what worked and what went sideways. Yeah, a lot of people don't like, believe it or not, a lot of people don't like to read stuff that's after the fact. So maybe we'll try that again, but the numbers weren't very strong on some of the viewership there. So that's why I sort of stopped it. But we can definitely, I'm open to anything. Definitely can go and try that again. Is Julio safe? He's one of the safest guys on the board. Like I talked about a little bit earlier, a little concerned with Marshawn Lattimore in that matchup, but it depends what you're calling safe. Am I starting him in cash? No. Is he safe in a season-long league? Absolutely. Is he a good GPP play? Yes. Jameis certainly could play. I mean, there's all sorts of ranges of outcomes for that Atlanta-New Orleans game. So my recommendation for GPPs is buy yourself into a narrative that maybe other people aren't thinking about. So maybe it's a Jared Cook game and people aren't worried about it, or maybe it's a low-scoring game and you take a defense. You take Atlanta's defense. I don't know, but buy yourself into a strategy into a strategy that maybe other people aren't thinking. And Jameis playing could be one of those. I wouldn't play Jameis. It's even if he plays, he's going to be, the upside just isn't there. Marvin Jones. Yeah, Marvin Jones. Well, he's safer. Claypool may have more upside. Maybe not. Yeah, I think Claypool has more upside. So if you're solely about upside, then I would go Claypool, but I think Marvin Jones is safer. Let's see. Thoughts on Patrick Mahomes' build to supplement Lamar builds? Mahomes isn't on the main slate, but I don't even know what his price is. I don't play the Sunday, Monday lineups, to be honest. Let's see. Mahomes. 9,200 on FanDuel. Woo! And Mahomes on DraftKings is 7,900. So it's much more tolerable on DraftKings. Yeah, I think he's in play on DraftKings in that Sunday, Monday slate. I think he'll be popular because the only people that are playing him may go to that game. Any Corey Davis love when stacking that game? No. Let me make sure of that. Yeah, no. Against the Ravens, no thank you. What do I think about the Cowboys receivers? If I had to rank them, I would go Cooper, and just in terms of value. So I talked about it a little bit earlier, but Cooper, Gallup, Lamb, I like all three of them quite a bit. So I think we talked Cooper had 10 targets, but he had 80 yards and a touchdown when Dalton played. Lamb had 11 targets and Gallup didn't do much, but I think that it's Amari Cooper is too cheap. No, I don't. I'll take one or two of my favorite lineups and put it in there. I've tried the max entering tournament thing, and it's hard. I don't know if anyone's tried it, but I would highly encourage everyone to take a 10-cent or 25-cent tournament and try to max enter it if you can. If you can't, don't go above your bankroll and try and do that. But it's difficult. It's really hard, and it's not a lot of fun. It's not fun for me having to root for, I have 20% of this guy and 12% of this guy and 30% of this guy. I'll build 5 to 10 GPP lineups and put those in, but I don't do the max entering stuff. I know John Lee, who's on the Power Grid, he does do that, and he hit for 20 grand last week. So congrats to him. But I don't do it. Content for Thanksgiving. Good question. So we will have a Power Grid show on Tuesday. And then on Football Guys website, I will be writing a FanDuel article for Thanksgiving. John Lee will be writing a DraftKings article just for Thanksgiving. Something I'll look into, John. I think it's a good recommendation. I'll try and see how we can actually do that from a HTML coding perspective. Do I play the Lions D if Two Gloves Teddy is out? Lions D is definitely in play. So for me this week, I'm always a guy who spends down on defense. I think there's 3 that are in play. Detroit, Atlanta, and Cincinnati. And pick your favorite of the 3. But I think that Detroit is – I actually like their secondary quite a bit. So I think Okudah is playing – he's getting better. That's a team that started out really slow. So I think that it's a defense that's definitely worth considering. Get paid AP or carry on full PPR. Sorry, I missed your question. Adrian Peterson for me. I just don't know carry on's role in that offense. Let's take a look at where he's at. He'll have more receptions, and if Detroit falls behind, he could see more snaps, but I think Peterson is a much safer guy. He's going to get all of the red zone looks. So it's Peterson for me. Let's see. John, how did it go? I know it's definitely a trip. It's nerve-wracking because you will go from winning a lot of money to losing a lot of money to winning a lot of money. It's all over the place. Am I with you on a Cowboy stack of Zeke and CD and bring it back with Thielen? Just trying to think of a game script that would work. So Zeke scores a touchdown or 2. Lamb scores a touchdown. Thielen scores it could work. I don't know if I'm fully there with you. If I sort of like Justin Jefferson a little more than Thielen, but I understand Thielen gets more of the red zone looks, so I completely get that. You lost 50 cents. Hey, man, that is an absolute – I don't want to say it's a win, but you get to try it again the next week. But, yeah, the swings are crazy with the 150 lineups. It made me really – it wasn't for me. I'll just put it that way. Pick one Pittsburgh wide receiver. Who do I have? Deontay Johnson. Okay. Questions are slowing down. So I'll go for another couple of minutes here. I think let's get in our last questions. We've been going for over an hour. It's flown by. I can't believe there's still 60 people here. So thank you. Hey, let's make this a regular Saturday night thing. And hopefully we'll get some more football guys on here. But like I talked about, if ever anyone wants to come on, whether you want to know about what it's like to write about football, whether it's what it's like to get into the football industry, I'm an open book, so we can certainly talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Love that you were up 216. What's 216? 216. Sorry, I don't know what 216. Oh, Cleveland. I'm originally from about an hour south of Canton, Akron. So I'm a Browns Indians fan. I went to Ohio State. I live in the Chicagoland area and have for the last 12 or 15 years. Maybe longer than that. Jeez. But Cleveland is where my heart will always be. Let's see. Does any Broncos player get over 75 yards receiving? Probably not. Probably not. I think if I have to pick one, I like KJ Hamler as a deep sleeper at 3,600 on DraftKings. I think that he's in a really good spot this week. I don't know what the tournament John Lee took down. I think it was $100. I think it was one of the $100 single entry, maybe. It wasn't a mass multi-entry, I don't think. But reach out to him. He'll always answer your questions. at Tip and Pick on Twitter. Indy D or start Philly this week. Start Philly. Baker Mayfield is prone to turnovers. Denzel Mims or Perriman. Whew, we're talking Jets. You know we're getting late when we're talking Jets. Let's see. Denzel Mims or Perriman. Sorry, they're pretty far down on my list. Let's see. Let me filter this for the right players. Jets, Mims, Perriman. Can I go neither? Perriman if I had to, but I would not necessarily target either of those. I would go Jakeem Grant or KJ Hamler over that. Cheapest defense I like. So all three of them that I like are cheap. I like the Bengals, I like the Lions, and I like the Falcons. We'll go be the. I think that the shootout of the week, and this might be a good spot to wrap this up. The shootout of the week will be surprise shootout of the week, I should clarify. Lion, no. I mean, Falcons Saints could be a shootout. I think the Browns Eagles could be a shootout. Probably Browns Eagles is what I would go. I think that one could be a passing game. I think Carson Wentz and Travis Fulgham are in a really good spot. I don't know. I don't know if Swift will be ready. It's hard to predict with concussions. Yes, he should be. I have him at 94% rostered. Best FanDuel cash game receiver. FanDuel cash game receiver, Jacoby Myers. Keenan Allen's also there. Terry McLaurin's there. I love T. Higgins this week. I've talked about him. But Jacoby Myers probably will be the most popular on cash. Followed shortly there by Keenan and McLaurin. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap that up. I think it's a lot of talking. So I just want to thank everyone. Let's do this again next week, and I'll keep coming here and potentially bring some more guys with me. But hope everyone has a good week. The Audible guys will be back tomorrow morning like they always are on the Sunday morning preview. So I think that's the next time you'll see a video from this channel. But once again, I can't say thank you guys enough for hitting 12K. It's we will be giving away something on the Power Grid. I don't know what it is yet, but we're figuring that out. So watch the Power Grid next week, and we will be certain to have some sort of prize or contest or giveaway or something to celebrate hitting 12K. So thank you all. Have a good night, and talk to you later.